This is Black Unbounden, the place where silence turns into thunder, where doubt is swallowed by determination, and where the ones they laugh at rise so high the world is forced to look up. And tonight we tell the story of a man named Andre, a man whose name once floated around the break room as the punchline to tired jokes, a man who was mocked for carrying flyers, whispered about for daring to dream, dismissed as the mailroom guy, with no future, until the same people who ridiculed him found themselves depending on the dream they once laughed at. Andre was not born with silver spoons or golden handshakes. He was born in a small one-bedroom apartment on the south side where his mother worked double shifts and his father, when he was around, worked at the post office. Money was always tight. Some nights dinner was just rice, and whatever his mother could stretch across plates. Andre grew up watching her hustle, watching her iron uniforms at midnight, only to wake before dawn to clean houses. She never complained, but Andre saw the exhaustion in her eyes, and it planted something deep inside him. The unshakable belief that hard work was not optional, it was survival. As a boy, Andre sold candy on street corners, shoveled snow, cut grass, anything that earned a few dollars he could bring home. And when his classmates teased him for always hustling, for never hanging out, Andre shrugged it off because he knew he couldn't afford to play while bills stacked on the counter. That childhood carved resilience into his bones, and when he grew older and landed a job in the mailroom of a large company downtown, he carried that same resilience with him. To outsiders, it looked like stability, steady hours, benefits, security. But to Andre, it was a cage, because every morning as he sorted envelopes and pushed carts through glossy hallways, he looked up at the glass offices and wondered why none of those chairs looked like they were meant for someone like him. He said good morning to executives who barely looked up. He stayed late filing while others left early for dinner, and still promotions passed him by like trains that never stopped at a station. To them he was invisible, and invisibility hurt, but it also gave him cover. Cover to dream, cover to build, cover to scheme quietly until the time was right. The spark came the day his neighbor, an elderly woman, told him she'd waited 3 weeks for a delivery that never came. She asked Andre if he could help her pick up the package since she couldn't walk far. Andre went, stood in line, collected the box, and delivered it to her doorstep. And when she said, "Thank you, son, you don't know what this means to me," Andre felt a jolt, not just of gratitude, but possibility. What if he could build a service that treated people in overlooked neighborhoods with dignity? What if he could create a delivery company that wasn't just about speed, but about trust? So Andre began small, flyers printed at night, a website coded on a borrowed laptop, a rented storage unit that doubled as office, warehouse, and prayer closet. Every night after work, he dragged his tired body there, hunched over under a flickering bulb, fingers sore from taping boxes, eyes red from research. Sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford, and hunger was a companion he grew used to. Some nights he ate noodles cold from the packet just to keep going. But Andre didn't stop, because survival left no space for quitting his co-workers. Noticed the flyers tucked under his arm and laughed. They mocked him in the break room, called it a cute little hobby, joked that he was trying to sell his way out of the 9 to 5, and Andre swallowed every word, never fought back, because he knew their laughter came from small vision, not his. When a manager saw him carrying packages unrelated to the company and sneered, "Focus on a job that pays you. This entrepreneur stuff isn't going anywhere," Andre smiled, nodded, and went back to work, because Andre understood something they didn't. Sometimes the greatest revenge is patience. Sometimes the sweetest justice is results. His company, though small, grew one doorstep at a time. Families began to trust him. Small businesses leaned on his reliability. Word spread slowly but steadily. Andre reinvested every dollar back into the company. He didn't buy clothes or gadgets. He bought another hand truck, another set of uniforms, another software upgrade. And while his co-workers scrolled through their phones at lunch, Andre drafted expansion plans. While they complained about wages, Andre was researching logistics. While they brushed him off as nothing more than a mailroom guy, Andre was building a network of drivers, customers, and routes. His work was invisible to them, but it was undeniable in reality. Then came the storm, not of rain and thunder, but of corporate collapse. The company he worked for leaned heavily on a national shipping partner, and one night that partner folded, bankrupt. Overnight, the system crashed, deliveries stalled, customers raged, deadlines passed, the boardroom shook with panic, executives scrambled, conference calls ran deep into the night. Every alternative failed. No one could scale fast enough to plug the hole. Stockholders grew restless, numbers plummeted, and the walls of power suddenly felt like a trap. In that suffocating boardroom, one executive, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "Maybe Andre's little side hustle can bail us out." The room chuckled, rolling eyes, but the CEO didn't laugh. His brow furrowed. His voice cut through. "What side hustle?" Silence. Thick and uncomfortable, someone pulled up Andre's website. The laughter died. Eyes widened, jaws dropped. One executive muttered, "Wait, this is good." Another leaned forward. He already covers 3 of the zip codes we're failing in. Suddenly, Andre was no longer invisible. Suddenly, the man they mocked had what they desperately needed, and the CEO made the call, "Get Andre up here." When the phone rang, Andre thought he was in trouble. The 17th floor was not for men like him. The last time he went up there was to renew a security badge. Now he walked into a boardroom lined with suits. Every eye fixed on him. They asked him about his business, his fleet, his operations, his potential to scale. And Andre stood tall, his voice steady, his answer precise. Every long night, every sacrifice prepared him for this moment. And when they asked the final question, "Andre, can you handle the load?" he looked around the room, meeting every doubtful gaze, and said, "I've been preparing for this since you told me it wouldn't work." Silence swallowed the room. Not a mockery, but respect. Within a week, contracts were signed. Andre's company became their primary delivery partner. Trucks rolled. Systems merged. And Andre, the mailroom guy, walked into the boardroom not as an errand boy, but as a partner. When he returned downstairs to pack his things, people clapped. But Andre heard the hollowness in some of those claps. Some were proud, yes, but others clapped to mask shame, because they remembered the laughter, the dismissal, the way they looked through him. Now they looked up at him, the same supervisors who said, "Be realistic," now begged for meetings. The same co-workers who mocked his flyers now lined up for jobs under his company. Irony hung in the air heavy as smoke. But Andre didn't gloat. He didn't remind them of their words, because Andre knew revenge fades, but results remain. One day a junior employee stopped him wide-eyed and asked, "How do you keep going when no one believed in you?" Andre paused, smiled, and said, "Belief is optional, survival isn't." That was his truth. His story wasn't built on applause. It was built on silent sacrifice, on nights where sleep was replaced by struggle, on mornings where he wore the mask of calm while exhaustion gnawed at his bones, on faith that whispered louder than doubt. And now the conference room that once ignored him hung on his every word. Justice had come, not by tearing them down, but by rising so high they could not ignore him. They laughed at his side hustle. Now their company depends on it. And Andre, the man they overlooked, became the solution they never saw coming. Andre's story is proof that you don't need applause to keep going. What you need is resilience, sacrifice, and the courage to believe when no one else will. They laughed at his side hustle, but now their survival depends on it. That's the power of silent perseverance. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, like this video, and subscribe to Black Unbounden for more stories where justice always finds its way.